Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Carrie Roldan Show, where we spend 30 minutes or so having conversations that matter to the entrepreneur's body, mind, and business. On this show, we cover topics from marketing and websites to consciousness and hormones and everything in between. And I'm your host, Carrie Roldan. I'm a wife, a mother, a runner, a best-selling author, a personal growth junkie, and your total business BFF, which for those of you who don't know stands for best friend forever. And I'm honored to be your teammate and intuitive guide on this entrepreneurial journey. So today's episode of the Carrie Roldan Show is sponsored by my product, the Body Mind Business Reboot. So if you are ready to feel at home in your body again, to lose a few pounds and to come into cellular alignment with your highest calling and the highest calling of your business, then this is for you. So to get more information about the Body Mind Business Reboot, just head on over to carrieroldan.com/reboot for more details. Okay, you guys, I'm super excited about today's topic and today's guest. Today's topic is business as a spiritual path, and I am so excited to have Karen Fritz, my friend, with us on the show today. Karen Fritz of Purposedrivenprocess.com as my guest. So I'm going to read you a little bit about Karen, although you're seeing her beautiful face already. Karen Fritz is the best-selling author of Purposetivity, the feminine face of productivity for time, team, and tech, and The Art of Adventure. Karen graduated from corporate management decades ago and has learned what it takes to smoothly run successful seven-figure ventures, entrepreneurial ventures. Karen has diverse degrees and certifications. This is what I love about her in tech and psych, quantum physics and cultural anthropology, business and ancient wisdom, and has spoken to audiences on 5 continents. Karen takes a stand for transforming the fabric of society through business as a force for good. She's one of the smartest and most insightful people I know, and I'm so excited to have her on the show with us today. So Karen Fritz, finally, say hello.
Yay! Thank you, Carrie. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to getting to really dive into this with you and have some fun with it.
Yeah, well, I am too. So I don't even know if I mentioned the topic or if I just got so excited, but I've talked about the topic today as business as a spiritual path. And you and I have been on this business as a spiritual path journey together. And there's been so much just amazing conversation between you and I already that I'm super excited to share it with everybody else today. So before we dive into that, I always ask, my first question I generally ask people is, tell us how you came to do what you do. But in the telling of the how you came to do what you do, I didn't really tell people exactly what it is that you do. So can you tell us that too?
Yeah, the short form, right?
Yeah.
Basically, what I do is to take a holistic perspective on what it is that your soul is bringing into this planet as your business and how you are showing up in that and as that. So to me, it has 3 different aspects. There's your strategy of, how your business finds people, how people find you, how you deliver your things, the systems behind it, and the self-evolution. As your business grows, how you're called to evolve, to hold more capacity on the planet. So to me, it has to be all of those things. And the way that I got started with that was partly from having done it myself, right? I started having my own businesses, it was in the early 90s, after I left corporate and then had babies and went, I'm definitely not going back. At this point, I consider myself unemployable and certainly unmanageable.
I can't wait to talk more about that. Okay,
right,
keep going.
Right. So as other people started going through corporate layoffs and, all that kind of stuff, they were asking me how to put the pieces together. I was like, oh, well, to me, it's obvious because that's the way I was created. My role to play really is to have this high level advocacy of making sure that there are integrations among all the parts of the business and the person in the entrepreneurial world, right? Other people are working with the B Corp movement, business is a force for good, at larger businesses, but not so much at our level. Yeah. And so as it was called forth from me is really how I got started with it. And eventually I went ahead and got my coaching certification so that I could really be present for the growth part. And then what happened for me was brain injury. So yes.
Tell me about that.
It was just me and my 500-pound Tiger motorcycle back in the backcountry and Colorado trails, which is a really big bike for a really small woman. And at one point I was just exhausted and I wasn't going to let it stop me. Not that that has anything to do with entrepreneurs, right? And I was going along and hit a rough patch and simply tipped over. Like it wasn't a big deal, but it was enough. And I landed on the left side of my brain. And so I lost access to language. I couldn't word make do good. And I lost access to my memory. Short term, I couldn't remember anything. After having this huge perspective and capacity, I lost access to it. And in the course of my recovery, I started using a lot of technical tools, like Evernote saved my life.
Right.
And then I realized that this was something that I could so easily bring back to my entrepreneurial friends. And so that's kind of been my re-entry, is looking at making the systems support us sustainably based on the personality that our soul created by intention.
Okay, you just said so much that I kind of don't know where to start. But I've been taking some notes. So one, that's beautiful. Like that's beautiful that we're talking about business as a spiritual path. And you're saying that so much of what you do evolved out of your business being yours. Like your business has continued to evolve with you, and you had businesses before you had this brain injury. Were you working with entrepreneurs before the brain injury?
I had only just barely started, right? Okay. I'd been asked a lot of times over the years, but it was only like 2 or 3 years before that I really went, oh, here's my real calling.
Okay, so before this brain injury, you had found your calling. You had already figured out, because what I love about you, Karen, is you have, so Kara Peacock is here saying she loves it. It's food for her brain. But what I love about you, Karen, is you're so great with perspective, right? You're so good at having that high level vision of like, you can see the whole path, right? And then you can also see the next steps, like the next logical step. You can take that macro, which I love to live there. Like I live in the land of possibility. But what you're great at doing is marrying that land of possibility with, okay, here's some practical steps. Like here's some tools, and here's some things. Anyways, I got distracted when I was telling you how much I love you. Because I wanted to know you had figured out what your calling is before the brain injury, or were you still finding your way?
At that point, I was much more focused on the almost being like a spiritual teacher and a meditation coach and so on for entrepreneurs, knowing darn well what they were going through.
Sure.
And then as I kind of reemerged, it's like, oh, and I can position this and guide a whole lot more of the pragmatic side, specifically as a way to kind of trigger, like, where is that next piece that needs to show up for the evolution?
Oh my God, I love it. And I love it that it came literally from a bump in the road or like a rough patch. Right? like it was a rough patch. And
what's that?
And it was it was a bump on the head. Like, you say you get like, when
2x4.
yes, like you do this, which if you're listening, you're like, what did she just do? I whacked myself on the forehead. Like that's what, that's where our brilliant ideas come. And I know I'm making light of a very serious issue that took a long time to recover from, but that's, I think, the beauty of the journey, right? I got to know you as you were emerging from like, I didn't actually understand when I first met you and you would talk about memory loss or whatever. I didn't understand the whole scope of what had actually happened. So, okay. Anyways, moving on. I want to ask you, you said in the beginning that you consider yourself unemployable and unmanageable. Okay. Now I love this about you, and I'm betting a lot of entrepreneurs listening are like, rock on. But most people don't consider those necessarily great qualities to have in a person. So can you explain why these are good things to, why these are good qualities to claim?
I'm trying to imagine life without them. To me, when I did the corporate piece, I mean, I did the good girl thing through high school. I did the good girl thing through college, good grades, yada, yada, get the good job, more pay, and you're okay. Right? Pink Floyd fan too. And there was so much that I felt like I was leaving at the door. Right? I would walk into the plant that I worked at, and it was, okay, here we go. Leave your personal life and your emotional self at the door. As I connect with somebody to get tasks done, because I was a project manager, right? Keep it all on the intellectual plane, and don't drop into, and I know your daughter had her tonsils out. How's she doing, and how are you doing with that? Like that was, oh my gosh, how dare you waste that 30 seconds in intellectual productivity time. And definitely leave your spiritual self at the door. Because we wouldn't want to discuss politics in the office. We wouldn't want to discuss religion in the office. Leave that at the door. And quite frankly, a lot of it was leaving my creativity at the door.
Yeah.
Why would we think that a lot of our workforce is disengaged? Because we shut them off, right? Their creativity is not engaged in promoting creative solutions that actually leave the world better than when they came. They're not engaged in heart-centered relationship building that lets people feel valued. And I couldn't live there. I couldn't. So I went off and started doing my own thing, and quite frankly, found out I could do more, do it better, do it faster, and earn more doing it. There's not a corporation who could afford me at this point.
Well, that might be scary for the entrepreneurs who are listening, going, well, great. So how can I afford her? So do you want to clarify that?
Okay. No, I'm unavailable to be priced to violate my own values ever again.
That's much better.
if I'm looking at serving the people who are creating the sustainable solutions, the people who are building an intuitive and inclusive and generative business presence, right? I call that our be economy, the economy of being who we are.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm absolutely here on this planet to be part of the movement of lifting forward. We are the economy we've been waiting for.
Oh my gosh, so bizarre that I was thinking about this. Of course I was thinking about it, right? But still, why I was thinking about this morning, I was thinking about, and I actually want to get back to business as a spiritual path. I know we're sort of already there, but I was thinking about young people and how people, even in my generation, which I consider myself the very first millennial, like age-wise, I shouldn't be a millennial, but I identify so much with how the millennials feel and what they're about. So maybe I'm like a millennial translator, but regardless, I was just thinking about how people in my generation, and especially older than me, sort of look at these kids today and say, how are they ever going to manage? Like they don't want to do anything they don't want to do, and they only want to do it, and they think it's going to be so easy, and yada, yada, yada. And I was just thinking this morning, like, or I was thinking about the phrase the real world. Like they're not going to be ready for the real world. And I thought to myself, well, the real world is whatever we decide it is. Like it has nothing to do with the world that I necessarily grew up in, right? It has to do with whatever we decide that it is. And why are we choosing to believe that they're not going to make it? Anyways, I totally lost my train because I got off on that idea of the economy, because I was just thinking like our new economy can be about whatever we want it to be about.
Well, exactly. I mean, why educate today's kids in how to adapt to a world that no longer exists?
Amen,
right?
sister.
If you think about the 1950s insurance office, right? All the paper pushing and the hard close sales kinds of attitudes and so on, those companies that are still run in that paradigm are the ones that are struggling and dying, right?
Yes.
As the dinosaurs are dying, it's not pretty. But we are already building up the economy that's going to take that place. And it's built on creativity and innovation. That's why we need these kids not to be stuffed so full of old garbage, right? All we need them to do is to know how to go find the pieces they need to pull together for what they're building.
Okay, this is so good, and this leads to I think our conversation, right, around business as a spiritual path, because this idea of creativity and this idea of innovation, this is where so many of, I'm going to say us, right? I, at the time of this recording, am 41 and a half years old. And, but most honestly, most of the people who I hang out with in the entrepreneurial space are my age or older, right? Like there's a few people in what I would consider my community that are in the 30s, but most of when I say us, right, I'm talking about people like 37 to maybe 65, right? That are in the entrepreneurial space, that are struggling with wanting to create something from their heart, wanting to have this purpose-driven business, and marrying that with what they have been taught about business, what they know about business, or just the way business has been run for the past forever, right? And so they've caught themselves at this time of evolution in business, and they're not necessarily sure how to be in that, which is probably why we need to have a conversation with you, Karen. So this show is about conversations that matter to the entrepreneurs, body, mind, and business. What's the conversation we should be having?
I think when we look at those of us who are in entrepreneurial situations as a second career or third or fourth, right? We are faced with unlearning a lot of the rules and strictures, not structure, but strictures that we came in with, right? There was a time when women did not wear pants in the workforce. Well,
crazy.
I'm gonna wear what you need to wear now, right?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of, even setting aside the philosophical, beautiful, purposeful part, bringing it down to the pragmatic, right? We need to set aside most of the existing time management and productivity best practices, because most of those were developed during an industrial age for people who worked in the workforce, who are primarily men, right? And so all of these time and efficiency studies that are best practice in the literature come from a population that is built for more consistency, built for more linear and consistent energy. So especially as women, when we come in, it takes an extra step to learn or unlearn all those best practices, especially if we've been subjected to corporate trainings, and now come back and say, what works for this body? Because this body is not linear. This body cycles. I can't tell you that next Tuesday from 9 to 11, I'm going to have the energy to do this quality of work, right? That's going to be my creative time. That's going to be my whatever time. Because, so what's needed is for us to have the permission and the confidence to settle in and say, I need to arrange my business and the ecosystem around my business to honor the fact that I live in rhythm. I have up periods and down periods during the day, during the month, during the year, over my lifetime, right? When my kids are toddlers, it's different from when they're in high school, different from when they're gone. And so as I build that into, this is the way I show up in my business. And by golly, when I do, I want to meet women there and say, hey, if that's not the right biorhythm time for us to have coffee, awesome. How about the following week? I have that flexibility because I am not manageable. I don't have some boss telling me you have this quota of this type during this period. I have different activities that I do during different periods. And I literally have my time management, my task system set up for that.
Okay, so I already knew you, and you just blew my mind. In honestly, Karen, what you said about owning that I live in rhythm, and that just hit me so hard. Like, I mean, I remember when my kids were little, and I would like jokingly say, just when you think you have it figured out, right? Like every 3 months, everything changes. And what I've found is that my business is a little bit like that child in that every 3 months, everything changes, right? So, which actually, now that I'm having a total epiphany here, but now that I'm thinking about it, right, I have a background as a cross country and track coach, right? And we also worked in about 3-month cycles, right? Like 10 to 12 week cycles. And so it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, right? That we live in rhythm, that things like we go through cycles, especially women, like there's that word cycle, like duh. and we've recognized this about ourselves. What I'm wondering now, and so what I love about what you said is that, because you talk about strategy and systems, which honestly sound like very masculine things to me. Strategies always sounds very linear to me. I've actually resisted that word for so long. People keep telling me I'm a strategist, and I'm like, I'm not a strategist because nothing about me is linear. But I have a feeling what you have to say about those things is really different than probably what we've heard. Is that true?
Could be. So perhaps it would be good to relanguage strategy as your intentional patterns of interaction.
Oh yeah, way better. All right, done.
Yeah. So this is how, given that, right? For me, I love connecting with people one-on-one and going to a large room full of people that I haven't met before and recognizing faces and creating the opportunity to get the conversation to drop in is not my forte. Right? We're just going to go with that. For somebody else, that they are such a heart-centered person, they just want to walk into a room and love on everyone. We should have two different strategies. Right? So recognizing, again, starting from the significance of how we're created, how our design works, whatever system you use for your design mapping, right? I use the Enneagram a lot. So that's one of my key tools to recognize we are intentionally created to be different. There is not one strategy or one modality that's going to be the best and the only thing you must have or your business won't be successful, right? So much of our industry right now is kind of battered by experts.
Oh my!
This is the one you must have.
Expert battering that's such a great term. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So dropping in and recognizing my ego's not an accident.
Yep.
This way of showing up is highly intentional for what I'm here to do. So how about playing to my strengths? That's what I think strategy means. And then
Yeah,
for
that's what I think it means
yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly. For systems, consider a river. So like there's the flow of the water in the river. I think of that as the flow of the divine
Hmm.
through me and into the world as my work. Now think of a river with no banks.
I can't.
Right. In order for there to be flow, there needs to be just enough structure to keep that river aligned and in motion. Otherwise, it either floods out in all directions or it just sits there stagnant.
I'm having ahas all over the place with your analogies because I just said those are things that I have resisted, right? Like strategy and systems. I'm like, yeah, I know I need them, but blah. And and that you just described two states of my business, right? That I spent a lot of time in, right? In either I actually forgot the words you just used, but either like nothing's happening, like kind of stagnation because the river didn't have banks. And what was the other one you used?
Just kind of overflowing in all directions.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that too. That's happened a
Yeah.
lot for me. So, thank you for that. And hopefully this is helping a lot of people um like me, right? Like I wind up helping a lot of people like me because and I think actually that the work that Karen and I do, we do slightly different. You can guess, right? I'm not big on the strategy and systems. But we come from the same place in the way that we want to support people and the we have different gifts and talents for sure, but that seeing the whole picture and seeing the person inside of the whole picture of the business, like I feel like that's what's been missing, and I think that's why what you and I do is suddenly gaining a ton of momentum and a ton of attention, and all of a sudden we have clients coming out of the woodwork, is because people have been battered by the super specific, here's exactly what you need to do, follow my system, blueprint, or formula, and then feeling incomplete in that and looking for more holistic support. Okay, we are almost out of time and we still haven't, we've had the conversation. Everything we've been talking about, right, is been about your business as a spiritual practice, but can we bring it into, this is going to be a lot of pressure on you, so sorry. Can we put it into a phrase or into a brief, like how, right? Because I started to say in the beginning, so many of us have seen business as something very separate. Like you were talking about your corporate life, right? Like very separate from your personal calling, from who you are. And we were talking about the new economy and the young people. And I'm thinking about YouTubers in particular, right? Who are like, just like sort of figuring themselves out and making butt tons of money as they go. I can see so clearly that those kids' businesses are their spiritual path. Like they're figuring themselves out and earning as they go. But for so many of quote unquote us, it's been this uncomfortable, hard thing. So just talk to me about, can you put those together? Can you make a sandwich out of what I just said?
Absolutely. Why else would you be in business? Right? To me, and this applies equally to marriage or parenting, or like just those are not my topic. Been there, done that,
Sure.
happy with my results, and I love business. So when I enter into entrepreneurship, why else would I do it other than there are things there that I don't know how to do? I cannot do this without evolving. And I get to choose how I evolve. Now, true, there are a lot of people who are participating in what I call crisis-driven evolution, right?
Sure.
They put a whole bunch of stuff in motion, and then they've got this last-minute deadline, and they realize, oh my God, I need to, right? A different approach would be what I call conscious evolution. to say, here's where my business is at this level, and I know that I'm called to this level. I know that I'm called to a higher level, deeper work, wider transformation, broader influence, whatever it is. How do I need to grow my capacity in order to show up as what's being called forth? And that's where I bring in like my background for coaching to say, we're going to articulate what that new capacity is. And we're going to say specifically what developmental objectives you want to be consciously evolving in order to have that experience of yourself in business. There's the experience of making money, but there's also the experience of being my fullest self, showing up and doing that. So I think that that's, to me, the deeper reason. When I realized that I named my business Purpose-Driven Process, because I thought that was really cool. I was going to do process design for people.
Yeah.
And then I went, oh, wait, all of business is a purpose-driven process, because our business has a purpose or a mission statement. And the whole thing has to fit together as a system of processes to do that. And then I went, oh, my life is a purpose-driven process.
Yep.
So recognizing how right on those, quote, casual words were, ha, right? And to say, oh, no wonder I'm in this field. What is it Joan of Arc said? I'm not afraid. I was born for this.
Oh, that one gave me goosebumps. I just had, this is a side note, but I just had a client in it's actually in a group that I run, and she came to that realization and she was like, you guys, I was born for this. And you know what? Everybody got goosebumps. That I did, like, of course you were. Yeah, you were. And it's so funny that we can all see it in each other, right? Like whenever I have this massive epiphany, I'll come to whatever, group that I'm a part of, or if I'm being coached one-on-one or whatever, and I'll be like, I had this major epiphany, or I share them even on my show, and everyone is like, yeah, duh. Like, we knew that about you, of course that's what you're doing. Okay, Karen, we are well over we're not well over, we're only a few minutes over our time, but I want to make sure that I know that people can connect with you at your website, but I know you have a specific link for a cool, you got to explain it, because I'm going to butcher it, because there's too many systems and processes words involved. So tell us what you have for our viewers and listeners.
So here's what I want. I want all of us to have the time and the space, and specifically the attention freedom, to be able to take one step back so we can see what we're doing and where we are with our purpose, so that we can leap 10 steps forward.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yes. So what I did was to create a collection of things you can do, very, very pragmatic things that you can do, 8 of them, to take that one step back by investing 10 minutes, right? These are 10-minute things that you can do to free up some time, free up your attention, and then use that to invest in really creating the life you want. And that's at purposedrivenprocess.com/10-minute-tips, 10-minute tips, so that you have that reclaiming of your attention. Make the computer do the work. They're quick and easy things. And then you have your attention to recenter in your heart and build out your gift in the world.
I love that. Just hearing you talk about it brought me peace. Like those of you watching, whether you're watching us on Facebook Live or on YouTube, or anywhere else you might be seeing it. Like, I know you just saw that. I know you saw. And you're also seeing on your screen that link that Karen just gave. So purposedrivenprocess.com/10-minute-tips. I'm excited to go there, Karen. I'm excited to go get that. Like, you have inspired me to care about things, because honestly, my approach to a lot of this has always been, when you're in alignment, the right stuff shows up, which I know is true. But what I hear you saying is it's so much easier if you have some systems in place to keep you in alignment.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm
Somewhat.
excited. Yeah, and I have some of those in place. I'm sure there's a lot already, but I'm excited to go grab your 10-minute tips, because 10 minutes I can do. Like I can find 10 minutes, and I know you guys watching and listening can too. So if you're watching this on replay, the link or listening to it on a podcast, the link is somewhere in the show notes, or it's right here on your screen if you're seeing us on video. But purposedrivenprocess.com/10-minute-tips. Karen Fritz, it is always a delight to talk to you. It is always, those of you who watch the show, you know, I'm highly intuitive. I'm super empathic, and I feel things in my body. And talking to you has just been this calming, grounding, centering thing that has happened in my day. Like, I'm so grateful that we had this conversation. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate you and what you're doing. Thank you so much for bringing it out.
Love you. Love this. All right. I love everybody who's watching or listening. Don't forget, today's episode is sponsored by my Body, Mind, Business Reboot program. So honestly, guys, so many people joined this program because they've heard, like, a friend tells them they lost a bunch of weight in doing this program. And it's highly probable that you will lose weight if you do the Body, Mind, Business Reboot. It is 30 days that will definitely change your body. But my intention behind creating it was really my sharing what I had learned going through my own journey. And it was in resetting my hormones, right? Getting back on track hormonally. What I didn't know I was doing was putting myself in cellular alignment with my highest calling and the calling of my business, and stepping into that next version of me. So I see Karen got excited about that. So if that is something that you're looking for, like you want to lose weight because you want to look good in your next branding photos, or you're just tired of, or you have a speaking engagement and you're like, okay, it's time to get serious, great. It will work for you. But I want you to know my bigger purpose behind creating that program. Like, you can find a weight loss program anywhere. Like, this is specific to you on the entrepreneurial journey who wants to be in physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment. So if that's you, go to carrieroldon.com/reboot and check it out. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks again, Karen, for being here. And we'll see you all on the next episode of The Carrie Rolled On Show.